Hi, it's Janice from Le Rue de Fleur. I'd like to welcome you back into my studio today. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite things to make and one of my top sellers, my Patchwork Minky Blankets. These are so fun. I have lots of videos about making these. I have a full instructional course if you want to know a little bit more about it. It's a wonderful, wonderful beginner project. I back mine with Minky, which can be tricky to work with. I do go over that in those videos, and I'll link all of that for you down below. I'm not going to focus on that today because my favorite thing with these is that you can mix and match so many patterns. My friend likes to call them my mixed lollipops, where I take a bunch of fabrics that maybe I only have a little bit left of, and I mix them all together and make all of these combinations. And it uses 5.5-inch squares. You could do little charm packs, which are 5-inch squares. You'd have to add a little bit onto either side to get the dimensions then the same, but you could do that as well, and it would be a very similar look. Of course, it's just sewing squares together into rows and then into strips. But this month, since we're doing 4-patch February, I thought, I've never made one of these as a 4-patch. So what if I used the same principles that we've been applying to all of our 4-patches and made a big Minky blanket, just like this one. So I am going to flip you around. We're going to have a look through my bin. I usually keep the fabrics that I like for these projects in a separate bin, and I try to keep some of the things that I liked in the past or I bought to go together in the past together into little combinations, and then each time I have to cycle back through and make sure that I have enough squares to make a blanket. So these are 5.5-inch squares, as I mentioned. I do 8 across and usually do 11 down, so that would be 88. Or for this one, I think we're going to do it slightly shorter so I can keep in the 4-patch, because we can't have an odd row and do 4 patches. So sometimes I do them a little shorter, so I do 8 across and 10 down. So we're going to need 80 squares, and I don't usually do it like this. So I'm kind of intrigued to see what will happen, if I will like it, if I will not like it, if I need... Well, we'll just have to think about what our recipe should be, because I usually think in terms of 1 or 2 very focal point fabrics that have a really bold design that drive the rest of the story, right? So it's like a little story in fabric. So I would say on this one, it's the bear fabric with all the little woodland creatures. That has all of my colors, and it's setting the tone that this is like a little fun, sketchy, woodland-inspired thing. The next one I would say is maybe my deer and my other animal prints, because they reinforce the color scheme. And thirdly, maybe the hedgehog, because they're all the most dominant, picturesque pieces, right? And then you have all the mix-ins, so all of your bee patterns that bring it all together with color and feeling, vibe and all of that stuff. And that would be the splatter print and the hashtag print there, the hashing print, the little paw print scallopy thing, this one that's very woodland inspired, the wood grains. I have a few other just random ones, I have a couple of these little square ones, and some of these that are the triangles within triangles. Yeah, because I mix them up and I like them to look very patchy, and so therefore I have a lot that repeat, but I always try to throw in a few that are left over from something else that still go, but they give it that very handmade, pulled together patchwork vibe. So we're going to dive into the bins. Back here behind me I have this one, and I have one over there I don't think you can see. And I'm going to look through what I have to get started and get inspired, and then we'll see how we can put it together. Okay, let's go. Okay, so here is my bin 1, if you will, of this, and then I also have some in here. So this is the combination I just worked with, so I probably won't do anything with this, but oh, this one's cute. That's behind it. So I'm not going to use this because I just worked with it. So I probably am fresh out of inspiration really for this one. So I would set this off to the side because I'm not going to look at that. And I don't know if this one's too similar, but also it's stinking cute. And I really love the woodland things. So obviously handmade, nature inspired. I love woodland, and this is really cute. I don't know, because what I'm thinking that we have to do here is move some stuff so we can look at things. We have to, oh yeah, do I have more of this? I do, okay. We have to be able to make, hold on one second. Okay, here's the pillow that we did in last week's episode. So it has a lighter, more open pattern here and more dense colors opposite each other to make the 4-patch, right? So we've got dark, light, light, dark, and it alternates. So to create that same effect with our blanket, we need to do light and dark. And then, you know, have that same thing going on the other way, but this isn't going to allow me to mix as many colors, I don't think. Or am I going to be able to? I don't really know. So this is the puzzle that we're trying to figure out. So I do have a nice assortment. Maybe what I should start by doing is sorting things into lights and darks. Also, we need to decide, do we like this one? I think what we don't like is this one. This one does not go. So I'm going to put that back in the bin. I feel like it does not have the same vibe as the rest of these do. And then I have this one. And I'm going to check on my shelf and see if I have any more. I just dropped it. See if I have any more of this floral or something else. So hold on one second. Oh, I have this blue and a little green. Okay, so this is where I'm going with it right now. Do we like the brown tones? This taupey brown? Or do we like more the true brown? These are the things we need to think about. What do we like with it? I feel like I like more of the true brown. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to pull out a couple of other options that can fill this out, and then I will be right back. Okay, what I've noticed is seriously lacking in my stash is like brown prints. I never buy anything brown. Or I use it all the time. I feel like I don't buy it. Anyway, brown. Unless there's stuff in here. Oh, there's this. This one is fun. Okay, we like this one, and this one can go with it. So is this tall enough? Yeah. Okay, so I like that. All right, so now what we have to decide is what are we keeping and what does not go. So I just spread it out. I know I want this as a feature. I know I want this as a feature. I think they're even from the same collection. So it's Northcott, Deborah Edwards. Oh, no, this is Catherine Christensen. Woodland Babes. And this one is, I think it's called like Woodland Harvest or something. I don't know. It says Harvest, but the rest of it is cut off. So we're going to go with Woodland Harvest. Anyway, they're Northcott. So the same as like if you do any scrapbooking or you have any paper collections and things like that, the same manufacturers use like a lot the same palette, right? So even though they're from different collections, you're pretty sure that the greens on this are going to match. So that's a no-brainer to use those together. And I have some of this size that is already cut and collected. I do like it with this blue-green. There's blue-green here in the little woodland creatures print, as well as like that orange So I do like that together. And I think it works with this one as well because there is that blue-green. And then of course the red is a little bit more red, but it is a little terracotta in some of the mushrooms. So we're just gonna lean into that. I don't really have a lot of red either, and I don't want to make it look Christmassy, so I'm not gonna focus on the red. We're gonna focus more on the orange tones. Then I can use this Lone Star up because I don't really see that it goes with anything else. And then we'll use this brown with it, I think, unless we get to work here and we don't like any of the other things that it goes with. But it's bringing in that fern vibe from the other fabrics. Okay. Then I always have this beautiful woven in my collection, and it has this very neutral palette. It's on like a linen color, and then it's got grays and tans and taupes mixed in, and it looks great with like all kinds of things. So I really do like it with this. I don't know if I love it with this one, but it might balance out. So sometimes you have to just kind of like keep it going. This one can still work too. I don't know, do we like those colors together? Yeah, there's like a little bit of this like more purple brown, like that taupey-ish color in some of the ferns. I don't know if that's enough. So we'll keep going, but it does have that same like woodlandy vibe to the flower. And I think it works nicely with my feature print. It pulls in some of this taupey gray of the bunny rabbit. And again, on the white back one, it works really well. So we'll keep that for the time being. I had these little blues. I don't think I like these two blues together though. Like this is almost too close in tone, but this is a very green based blue and this is a very like baby blue, and I just don't like those together. So I'm gonna set this aside and see if we find something that replaces it. Then I have this. These are not wide enough, but I do have these, this bright green. I don't know. I mean, it has the blue in it, but it's not the correct blue. It's more of like a purpley blue, and it went better with that fabric, I think, because it had that more blue undertone and not a green blue. So I think this time we're going to focus on like the greens. So I'm going to put that back and not use that one. Then I have this as an option, which I kind of like, unexpectedly. I know I did pull it, but I kind of like it as another dark, and it has all of the tones. It does have a little bit more of that warm green, but that's in this. And it has the cool blues, and even though the blue is dark here, it's like more of a like a green blue undertone to a lot of spots of it. It's also kind of like watercolory looking in the background. I don't know, I kind of like it. This shape on this fabric also reminds me of the puff heads on the little dandelions there, so I think we'll keep that. I'm gonna use this up. This is a really old brambleberry, like that. I only have a couple of these. I can use this up. I have just a few of these as well that I like. I can use up. I have a few of this, which some of these don't look wide enough, but I know I have more of this. Yeah, I have more of this, so I'm just going to leave this sit here. I like the tan tone with it as well, I think. What about this print now? Do we like this? I don't know. It's definitely more pinky, and we've kind of decided to do terracotta stuff, so I don't think I like this one. I was trying to bring in a smaller scale, another smaller scale print, because a lot of what I have is like big to medium size, so that's another thing, is like varying the size of your prints. And I'm gonna keep the hedgehogs in because there's hedgies in here, and I want to use these up. And then I have some of this gray wood grain which I really like, so we'll keep that. And I'm going to dig through this bin as well and see if there are any other mix-ins, because right now I'm seeing dark, 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 dark. Oh, that's the same thing. All right, so, and potentially that could be considered a dark. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 darks. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lights. So, and maybe 8 lights. So we need to ideally find something else that can be dark, or maybe something else that could be this, although I do like that. Okay, we're gonna look in here through the bin. Oh, I like that too. That's super cute. I don't know. Oh, this too, but I feel like these go better together. Maybe that goes better with that. I don't know. Okay, so we have to keep looking because I don't think that any of that really is working for me. And see what I do? I just lay them out next to each other and then I try to see what I like, and if there's something that's better than something else but it's very similar, then I just replace it in the pile. And that's how I get sort of that mixed up effect all the time. Okay, I'm not really seeing anything else in this bin that I feel like works. I'm gonna have a quick buzz through the other bin and then we will try to come up with a 4-patch pattern. Okay, so something I don't normally do as much is separate them into lights and darks, but this time because I need equal amounts so I can make those groupings, I am doing that. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 darks, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And I'm going to now have to find out if I can make 80 blocks. So I need 40 light combo blocks and 40 dark combo blocks to pair up to make 80, to make 40 sets. So, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and rip down some of these that aren't cut at all, and then I will come back and we will start grouping together. So like I said, the measurement on these is just 5.5-inch squares, really easy. I just take it over to my cutting board, lay it out, cut a couple of rows at a time, and just segment them into 5.5-inch squares. It goes really quickly, the prep on this, that's why I love them. And if you make stuff like this all the time, I recommend just like keep them sorted in a basket like this, and then they're really easy to continuously refresh and dig through anytime you want to make something like this, or you just want a quick sew. That's why I keep some of these things separated, so that when I just want to do something fun, fast, mindless, or I need a gift, or I want to restock my booth with something or my Etsy shop, then I can just come in and I can make some new things really quickly, and a lot of the fabric's already cut. So I'm going to go rip some of these down that are not cut, maybe press a few that are wrinkly and sad looking, and then we'll come back and work on our combos. It will make it 40 by 50 approximately till you lose a bunch of the seam allowance. Okay, so we are going to do that. That's only 5 inches shorter than I usually make them. Sometimes I make them this size too. It just depends, you know, what I have to work with and what I feel like working with, size-wise and backing-wise and all that stuff. I don't think 5 inches makes a ton of difference for a baby blanket, which is essentially what these are. Anyway, so we're going to do that. So that means we need 24 patch combinations. And here is what I settled on. So you can see my lights over here and my darks up here. And we are not going to have to change the arrangement of our block at all, because you see that you will have a dark and a light, and they will just alternate across each row, and it should work out perfectly the whole way down. So we're not going to finish coloring that in. I might type this up and make it a little bit more nice and graphic and include it as a little download link at the bottom of this video if I remember, or definitely in the blog post. So you can always check laruedefleur.com and find my blog under DIY header. there, and I will put that link down below too, and you can grab this if you're somebody that likes to like look at a pattern. But it's very simple, and you could always screenshot this as well. So I'm just going to come up with like arrangements that I like. So on this side, I have what I would consider to be like 2 feature prints. And on this side, I probably have, well, maybe 2 to 3 feature prints, because that could be a feature print too. And the same over here. So I would consider, focus. I would consider this one to be a feature, feature, feature. And then these are my supporting cast. And over here, these 2 are my supporting cast. I have a little bit more to choose from on the light, but kind of like less blocks from each category. So I'm hoping that it all works out in the end. Again, I'm going to go ahead and pop you back on the stand so I can kind of come up with combinations, but I'm going to try to mix stuff up a little bit and see what I like and think about how it might lay out in the final quilt, because I never do it like this. I usually do sort of like a cascade. So I usually put my main 2 or 3 feature fabrics and they cascade down toward the center and bounce around, and I like other things to go diagonally so that your eye is traveling in different directions. I don't usually make it what I think is going to turn out a lot more like a checkerboard style, but still with all of these prints. That's the fun of this experiment, I guess, is to see what we like, if we like it. Regardless, we're going to end up with probably a pretty cute finished quilt. It just might not be my favorite of all time in the history of ever, and that's fine because it's fun to play. So, and it's just fabric. So we're gonna have an experiment. I'm going to go ahead and pop you overhead and maybe speed this part up while I come up with some ideas of what I like together. If I like to just do like 2 of this and 2 of this, or if I would like to mix the lights and the darks. I'm kind of thinking that's might be what I like to do. I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, let's see. Here I am taking time to just sort through all of my options and get myself a little bit organized, and then I'm going to start playing with those dark and light and then light and dark alternating blocks to see what I like. Sometimes it's just going with your gut and mixing things up and around to see what you find interesting. Okay, so one possibility is this, which is really turning out to be, if I'm being honest, very similar to what I would normally make them as. So I kind of like this. This feels natural to me. So I'm doing like dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, or light, dark, light, dark. So they're going to alternate, and then I will sew them together as 4 patch units. Or my original thought was to make them so that they would match and you would be able to tell that they were 4 patches. So maybe something like this. And so you would have them like this. And while I don't find that as pleasing, I feel like that is really more what the mission was. So I'm going to go with this, and I'm just going to make a bunch of different combinations. I might just repeat a bunch and see what I get. So then to sew these together, just like every other 4 patch, I'm going to flip the one to the right on top, and then I would go sew down 1/4 inch along that right hand side. And same here, I would flip this across on top so right sides are together, and I would sew down this right side. I would leave these connected, so I would sew them without cutting my thread so they're connected. Then I would probably cut it off of the group below it, take it over to my machine, and then press to the dark side. So I would press my fabric so that the seam allowance is pressed to the dark, and then on this side the seam would go the other way, and then they nestle together. And I showed that in my last video when we were making the pillow. So if you haven't watched that up close, you could go watch that. Also have little blog tutorial about doing that as well. Just you interlock those seams, and then that's what gives you that really nice join there in the center, and they line up because they kiss each other. They like lock together because one has a slight ridge going one way and one has a slight ridge going the other way. And that's how you can help get really nice crisp centers to your 4-patch. So I'm going to do some of these combinations. Hopefully I can get to 20 groupings, and then we will come back and lay it out.
This is really simple basic block sewing, so I just have those right sides together as I mentioned, and I am just going down the right side to create my 1/4 inch seam. I just use the lines on my machine and my presser foot to do those seams. Pretty simple. And then I'm going to open them up, press them, and then I'm going to do that kiss locking at that little ridge in the center of the blocks, and I just hold that with my finger while I sew toward it. Because there's not a ton of distance here that we're covering, so the blocks aren't going to shift that much, and you can see that I get a really nice crisp interlocking seam there. And then I'm just working on completing all of those different block groupings. I just try to keep everything in order, and the most important thing is to make sure that things are facing the correct way when you put them together, so that your little bunny rabbits aren't upside down standing on their heads.
Okay, I got all of my blocks together. Hopefully you can see them here. I did just go with grouping things, and I decided what I was going to do is go diagonally when I put them together. So I will have a row that goes like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a row that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I made them in groupings like that to the best of my ability. Now, I just want to go over a couple of issues that I did run into that I would not have run into if I was just doing the scattering effect that I usually do. Making pairs really locks you in. So where I normally wouldn't worry if I was down to just a few oddball pieces, they would look really good in the mix as long as I felt like the vibe and the colors and everything went well together. This one, I did have to go cut 2 more from my feature green little baby animal print, because when I got down to my last groupings of 3, nothing matched. So I didn't feel like if I was going to line them up in rows, pairs, that it would make a lot of sense. It was getting a little too scrambled. And so my opinion is you either need to go totally scrambled or not very scrambled at all. You can't be like kind of in between, or it just looks not intentional. So I wanted to keep it very intentional looking. So I have 4 that are the woodland baby animals from Northcott and this old art gallery starburst print. I love that. I have 4 that are the woodland mushrooms from Northcott. I don't know exactly what it's called, like mushroom harvest or something. Then you can see here I went with the 2 prints that didn't match. I also don't love on this, and it happened in some other ones, and I'll show you those, that the scale of these prints is very similar. Normally, I would not do that either, because it doesn't give enough visual space for your eye, whereas like this one, you can see it's more busy and then a more spread out. Same with these, like, right? It's a different look, like your eye can concentrate on each print in the grouping. Here it is having a lot of trouble because everything is very similar. So I don't love that, but I don't think that it's bad because all of the other ones look like this. So I have 3 that are that, and I have 1 that is this grouping of brown, and that is going to be 1 row of 4. Then I have 3 of the daisy puff print with the grid. Love those. And my other row of 3 is this one that is a little bit more of the spread out chaos, right? So it's the woodland animals, which I had to cut 2 more because otherwise I was just having like all kinds of leftovers and they didn't really go together. I did go back and get the foie bois, like wood grain, the fake wood grain look because I needed something else, and I was like gonna have to cut a lot of other fabric, so I just decided to reach in and get 2 of those. So this row is kind of the most chaotic. It does have the baby woodland animals linking it, but otherwise it's got all of the different leftovers of 2. Again, with this one, I don't love it. It's 2 competing feature prints that have like basically the same scale. So I normally wouldn't do this, but just in the interest of trying to stick with the challenge for the day, I didn't really want to switch it out, so I was just using up what I had, and I did have enough left to make a pair. So I was trying to stick with things that I did have enough to make a pair of. Like for this one, when I got down to like these 2 were not going to be the same, then it was going to be in a row where nothing else was the same, I just decided to get the wood grain. Okay, so that, I don't love that. Is it fine? Yeah, it's fine. So we'll live through it. And then again, there's this last grouping. I don't love that this guy is decapitated. But in a big quilt, are you going to notice that? No. And I would have used that in a regular like scatter shot one. Okay, so that's my other row of 3. Then I have 2 rows of 2. That's one of these and one of these with the stag heads and then the ferns. Maybe stag head ferns. And then I have 1 each of the hedgehogs with a different dark pairing for my corner blocks. So I think what I'm going to do is cascade them down. So there'll be a row of 4 that goes through the middle, 2 rows of 4 that go through the middle, row of 3, row of 2, one of the hedgy blocks, and then the opposite thing on the other side. And I'm going to get them laid out. So far, I'm not sure if I mentioned that so far I am about an hour, a little over an hour in on this project. Now, again, I'm recording, so I'm stopping to talk and everything, but I am cutting out parts that I'm sewing. And I had some of the blocks cut already, but since you're cutting everything the same size and they're just super basic squares, you can whack and stack and it goes really, really quickly. Again, also, once you decide the groupings that you're creating, you just make a bunch of the same groupings and you sew them all together in little pairs and then in little groups of 4, and it goes together so fast, and that is why the 4 patch is such a satisfying block, whether you're new or old. Okay, so we're going to lay these out in our strips as I discussed, and then we will sew the whole top together.
Here I am just taking time to lay everything out on my floor. Like I said, I'm going to do 4 diagonally in one direction, and then I went this way and I realized that was not going to work out, so I had to switch them to the other side. And I do like this. It came together really quickly, like I said, and I had a good plan. I was just trying to space all of the colors out so that it could get that nice checkerboard effect that I was creating with my blocks.
Okay, so I have it all laid out, and I think this is the direction that I'm going to go. I do realize that the one side has a little bit extra concentration of greens, but I didn't want to put this fabric right next to that fabric either. I don't know. Overall, I really like it. I feel like if I were to do this again, I might have a little bit more variety in my fabric, just so that I didn't have as many things bumping up against each other. I particularly am bothered by this one, but I don't really know if there's anywhere better to move it. So we're just kind of like locked in there, I guess. Overall, I really like it though. So I am going to sew this guy together. It should go really, really fast because I just have to do 1, 2, 3, 4 across, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows together, and we should get this put together really quick. So far, this is a really fast make. So again, I'm just using the interlocking of the seams, or actually here I pressed things open, and I am just going to hold them in place. They should line up really well. You can pin too if you're worried about it, but I think this is like enough. I'm gonna get it pretty close together enough, and I'm not really gonna spend the time to pin because it's just a very simple grid that I can lock in with my fingers. And then all you have to do is sewing down that right side, same way when we put them together, with a really simple 1/4 inch seam. And that is it. I'm just going to repeat that, and then I will press them all open. I will probably do like opposite directions, and then, or I'll just press open. And then I just have to connect my rows. So I'm going to speed you up through this. It's really basic piecing. There isn't anything tricky to it at all.
Here I am pressing all of my seams open along the 4 patches that I put together. I just think that keeps like the bulk down, and then I'm going to lay them right sides together on top of each other with their corresponding things. I am pinning this time just because these are really long strips and they tend to shift if you don't pin. So at this point I do actually pin them, and then I'm going to flip it over and give all of those seams a press open where I've attached the 4 block units together. I usually work from bottom to top and top to bottom, and I end in the middle. That way it keeps your sections from being too heavy while you're sewing through the machine. So I did the top half, and then I did the bottom half, and then I connected them with the middle row unit. And here you can see that it's all completed. And overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out. A very simple project. The mix of fabrics is not quite the same as what I would get when I do the cascading effect, but overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I would recommend this as an alternative. Certainly the layout and thinking about that was a lot faster than when I do my regular PMBs.
Okay friends, we did it. The final product is all done. We have this beautiful 4-patch variation on our popular Patchwork Minky Blanket. All I have to do now is put the back on this. Again, I have a full tutorial on how I make these in my more traditional way, but that includes all of the instructions, fabric cutting for if you want to add that little bit of extra inches on the bottom. I also sell a pattern, which I'll link down below, in my Etsy shop, which goes over everything in detail as well. It's just $5, so I think that's a steal. It really helps you figure out laying things out, especially if you're new to making a quilt. These little patchwork ones are so perfect to get started. So now I'm just going to put my Minky backing on it. I am going to use this delicious cream Minky swirl. If you've never used this before, it is like the softest stuff. And I just make a self-binding blanket, so I roll it around the edges. Again, all of that's covered in that tutorial that I'll link, as well as if you purchase the pattern. I think not only is cream what I have to work with, but I also think it looks really nice with the creamy tones that are in this quilt. So I'm gonna get that finished up. I don't know if I'll have a chance to put little glamour shots of this at the end or not. It depends on how much I can get done for the rest of my day, but thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed 4-patch February and you got a lot out of this series. Some quick fun ideas to work through, very basic, one of the foundational blocks of quilting. If you can put a 4-patch together, we've seen that you can make a whole quilt. So it doesn't have to be hard, it doesn't have to be scary, it doesn't have to be intimidating or take a bunch of time, and you can just be creative, relax, and enjoy yourself and play with pretty things. And isn't that like why we're all here? So thank you so much for joining me this month. Next month I'm going to do a little bit of March mending madness. So we're gonna go over some mending techniques, visible mending, you know, fixing stuff that's over in my mending basket, as well as trying to work through a little bit more of this whip cupboard down here. And you got a sneak peek of one of the projects that I'm working on over there, which is a bunch of half square triangles that I've had sitting in these bins down here. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Keep sewing.
As always, all information is linked below. I also created a corresponding blog post to each video. Please like and subscribe the channel. It really does help me continue to grow. Thanks and have a great day.